Hey guys, Emily Muccianti here with another video about reading intervention. And today we're going to talk about something that has really been on my mind a lot. Have you ever been in one of those staff meetings and your departments or grade levels are arguing over like a word? I remember vividly being in a staff meeting where we were coming up with, I think it was like a mission statement or a goal or something. This happened to be at the secondary level. And I could not believe how many minutes we took arguing over a couple of words. We had overcomplicated everything. And it took such an amount, it's just a ridiculous amount of time over something that was really very trivial. And so this got me thinking. And today we're going to talk about what if reading intervention were simple. Now, notice I didn't say easy, okay? I didn't say easy, but simple. And I think it can be. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, remember to please like, subscribe, leave me a comment, share this video with just one person. It's about having a conversation so that we can get really great quality interventions into all of our schools, because we all know, especially post or mid-pandemic, that our kids desperately need this. Okay, so let's get back to our topic. What if it were simple? Okay, as teachers, you know, I know, we overcomplicate everything. From the matter of we have to have a staff meeting rather than just sending something out in email, which would obviously be much simpler, right? And I think that we take this into almost all aspects of our career. You know, we are very passionate people just by nature. We feel so strongly in the philosophies and the beliefs that we hold dear. And we are the defenders of children. And so we come in sometimes, you know, really willing to stand our ground and fight for what we believe in. And I love that. I love that about teachers. That's just who we are. We're passionate people and we want to do what's right for kids. But let's take this in a different direction. If reading intervention were simple, not easy, simple, we would know who we're servicing and who is providing services, why we're providing services, where, when, why, and then the big one, how. And so those are the things that we're going to talk about today and see if I can help give you a direction and see if we can come back to simplifying the process of reading intervention. I was at a training, it was with Dr. Good one time, and I've mentioned this in other videos. He said something just profound and it just stuck with me for so many years. And it was, if you don't know what's important, then everything is. And when everything is important, you don't have time to focus on figuring out what's important. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And that really got me thinking about this. So I wanted to see if we could work around and think about how can we simplify the process, okay? So the first big thing is why. We have to know why we're providing intervention, which means we have to have reasons and we have to have data. And you're going to have data at your fingertips that are going to prove that your school, your grade level, your district, whatever the case may be, has a need. And honestly, in mid-pandemic, we know that those numbers are just going to be really, really high right now. So we have a why. We've got to help these kids build some foundational literacy skills so that they can in turn be the best readers possible so they can be academically successful. And we know that when kids are academically successful, then so many doors open up to their futures, whether they decide to go on a college path or not. But it's a career opening door when we are strong in our academics and have a strong education background. So that's our why. It's our big why. The next question is who. Who do we service, and who provides the service? These are two big ones. So let's talk about who provides the service first. I am a huge believer that every single school needs an intervention team. It's a team. This is a team approach. Intervention should not fall on the shoulders of classroom teachers, in my opinion. They're doing so much already. They have standards to teach. They're differentiating. They're still doing small group instruction. But the key heavy lifting of intervention and filling those literacy gaps can go to an intervention team, which consists of one lead teacher, maybe a reading specialist, may just be a really passionate educator who loves literacy and is kind of that personality on campus that can really kind of rally the troops. Okay, you need that one lead teacher. And then a team of paras, anywhere from 2, 3, maybe 4, depending on the size of your school and how many kids have a need, because the more personnel that we have in our teams, the more students that we can service. And that's really what we want to do. Okay, so that's who's providing the instruction. Then who receives the instruction? And this is important. Obviously, we know struggling readers, right? But here's the thing. We have to have a concrete way to identify our struggling readers. We cannot just rely on intuition and recommendation, although I think those things should be taken into consideration. But we have to start with a universal screener. Every campus needs to have a universal screener that screens the entire school population. Do not pick and choose who receives the universal screener, because you will miss kids. Kids will fall through the cracks. Now, who is going to perform all of that assessment? Well, it goes back to your intervention team. Okay, so your intervention team performs that assessment, because again, I just don't believe in putting all of this onto classroom teachers. They have another job, and it is super important. Okay, so we've talked about the why, we've talked about the who. Then the question is where. Where are they going to receive these services? And this is where we need a location. I'm a big believer in a pull-out intervention model, mostly a deployment model. That's a second conversation, but a reading lab. Your reading lab system of support needs a location, and it needs room. So depending on the size of your space, if you're in a typical classroom space, I've run reading labs like that, and it's myself and maybe 2 or 3 paras, and I've had a gigantic space what was almost the size of a portable multi-purpose room, and it was the best. Oh my God, I can't tell you how awesome having all that space was. And we had like 5 paras under us there. Fantastic space. So we need a place. Okay. I just believe that pushing in for intervention is too distracting for everybody. Okay. Typically it's a para that's going in, and then they're dealing with so many different classroom teachers. No, they really should be relying on that one lead teacher. So big believer in a deployment model where our intervention kids are going to a different location. It keeps us focused on what we're doing. It keeps our team in place so that we can provide training and that sort of thing. So that's the where. The next one is what. Okay, so we know why, we know who, and we know where they're going, but what are they going to do? What should our instruction focus on? And intervention instruction should focus on the 5 foundational literacy skills as determined by assessed need. So phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Okay, those are our 5 foundational literacy skills. And when they're in intervention, those are the areas that need to be worked on. Now, there should be a scope and sequence with each of those that is kind of determined by curriculum and possibly some other probes or diagnostic assessments that you would have to utilize. But what intervention is not, and I think this is a really big misunderstanding sometimes with classroom teachers in particular, and maybe even some administrators. Intervention is not reteaching of the standards that the student has lacked in an assessment, let's say in the classroom, okay? That type of intervention needs to be done by the classroom teacher, okay? That's a standards-based issue. And so a reading intervention team or reading intervention instruction is designed to go back, give those students instruction in the skill deficits that have been determined by assessment that are holding them back from being grade level readers. When we can catch kids up in those foundations and those literacy skills and they're stronger readers, then they are more likely able to access the standards grade level instruction provided by the teacher. That is the goal of intervention. It is not to go in and reteach what the teacher has taught. No. Okay. This is about the kid has like a universal need across the board or some sort of a skill gap that is holding them back. Okay. And that when we fill it, it has such a profound effect on what they're able to do. And as we fill those gaps, that's how we bring them to grade level. So that is really important. Let's make sure that our interventions are really designed to make our students literate and academically successful, not just reteaching. They're not doing classroom assignments. That's not the role of intervention. Okay. All right. So we did the why, the who, the what, the where, the when. So when do we do this? Well, we have an assessment window that we have to follow. Okay. So you should be benchmark assessing all of your students 3 times a year with your universal screener. That means that every student on campus is receiving a universal screening assessment 3 times a year. And that's how we know if we're servicing the right kids. So outside of that, usually depending on how quickly you get this, and the size of your school, it may take you 2 or 3 weeks to get the school assessed. Okay. So depending on what is left within your semester, let's say you've got a fall and a spring semester, you may have between 10 and 14 weeks of instruction time. Okay. And I think in my experience, the spring semester has always been a little bit longer. So, but you've got this time, right? That is the window. Let's just call it 12 weeks because we can keep it even there. So within those 12 weeks, our students should be receiving daily intervention at their reading lab. Remember, the kids are going there. And those sessions should be 30 minutes, in my opinion. Now, I know that, we lose a couple of minutes when the kids are getting there and then when we're dismissing and that sort of thing, but that we can shore up and really firm up with our classroom management and getting our kids trained, and we can get it down pretty good. So 30 minutes of designated instruction time. When that also means that every grade level has an intervention time, and that grade level then is deployed during that time, and it's part of the master schedule. And yes, it takes some finessing because you have to create a schedule where every grade level is given 30 minutes of intervention time, and you have to work around your recess, your lunch, if you've got PE or art or what have you, and you have to get kind of creative. So those are some things that have to happen. And another way that you can kind of work that is if you're new to this whole intervention thing, you start small. You don't start with your entire K6. You start with K2. Okay. And that's kind of how we can start filling that in and getting that system in place. All right. So then the last one, and honestly, this is the biggest one, but again, it's about how do we keep it simple? And that is, how do we do this? What is the how? And the how is 2-fold, in my opinion. One, it's the type of delivery of instruction. So our intervention instruction should be explicit and direct, and it should be intense. Okay, so intense, explicit instruction is what we're going for in an intervention program. And I need you to think of it this way. We're getting kids in intervention that are already behind, right? They're already feeling bad. They may already be, some behavior problems and that sort of thing. And we have to catch them up. We don't have time to mess around. We don't have time. We need to make the most of this. Now, what I have found is that kids really respond to this type of instruction, because I'll tell you why. They're constantly on their toes. They're constantly active and doing something. And so what it does is it keeps the attention high, the engagement high, and behavior issues very low, because everybody is actively participating. There is no downtime. So that's one reason I love explicit instruction for our struggling readers. The second reason is they start to see success in themselves, because we're doing a lot of things and moving them very quickly. And once they feel that success, we've hooked them. And now they're willing to do the work. And it's just so amazing. So we have to utilize instruction that is intensive, explicit, and direct. That is the type of instruction that should be in your reading lab situations. The other thing is curriculum, because this is another how are we going to make this all work? And we have to have really good, reliable, evidence-based curriculums. And, we need to base those curriculums on the areas of those 5 literacy skills. I am not a supporter or a believer in intervention kits. Okay. If it says it's an intervention kit, and that, okay, we put kids at this level, I'm super leery of that, because there is no one size fits all. We just got to be real with that. There is no one size fits all. And I'm definitely not a supporter of leveled reading kits, because kids can be in the same level for very different instructional reasons. And then it's about the instruction and the focus on what that kid needs, not the level in particular. Okay, just going to leave that out there, because I know all controversy, but that is just truly my opinion. I do think that we need to find some really great things that we can have in our classrooms, and not our classrooms, in our interventions, in our reading labs, at our disposal, that are going to cover those 5 literacy skills that we can pull based on the kids' needs, as we have grouped them together. Okay, so that we're giving homogeneous groups with the instruction and matched to the curriculum that they would respond to. That's really what it's about. Okay, so I know, simplifying the complicated, right? Again, reading intervention isn't easy. I don't want it to sound easy, but it's simple when we focus on the things that will move the mark. Okay, there are certain things that we can do and focus on. And if we lay the foundation in these intervention programs in a reading lab situation, and we can build some capacity and create some sustainability, amazing things will happen. And not just with your struggling kids, with your entire school. It can be amazing. Now, I have a little gift for you, so don't go away. So if you are interested in seeing a little more of this, I've created a year 1 checklist that is just kind of gives you some bullet points on what you really want to look for and focus on. If you are starting with creating an intervention program, or you're ready to do some modification of the one that you already have. And so if you visit readinglabsos.com, there is a little freebie. It's a little year one checklist that you can pick up, and I will put the link down below so you don't have to write it down. But Reading Lab SOS, that is the place where I will be sending you, because this is going to be a whole new passion project for me. And I hope that you will join me. If there's anything that I can do, you want to talk shop, you want to bounce some ideas, email, shoot me some, I don't know, comment or anything. You can catch me at readingdiva06@gmail.com or any of those other ways through the website. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Remember, let's not overcomplicate it. Let's focus on what will really move the mark so that we can do the best for our kids. All right, have a wonderful day. Bye for now.